Stop trying to impress her. Do this instead. You think if you say the right thing, do the right thing, and play it cool enough, she'll finally choose you. But the harder you try to impress her, the smaller you become in her eyes. Because the truth is, you're not competing with other men. You're competing with your own neediness. And right now, it's winning. If you're the kind of man who needs reminders, not motivation, if you want the truth when your emotions start negotiating, subscribe now, not for me, for you, because you're going to forget this the next time she texts you with one emoji and your brain turns into a courtroom trying to argue why you should chase. You need truth on repeat until it becomes your default. Here's the thesis. Here's what it really means to stop trying to impress her. It doesn't mean you become cold. It doesn't mean you become arrogant. It doesn't mean you start playing games. It means you stop making her the judge of your worth. That's it. That's the whole shift. Right now, you're performing. You're auditioning. You're trying to earn approval, like approval is oxygen. You say things you don't fully mean. You laugh a little too hard. You respond a little too fast. You become easy, but not in a confident way, in a desperate way. And you call it effort. You call it love. You call it showing her I care. No. That's called seeking. That's called outsourcing your self-respect. That's called trying to purchase attraction with labor, and it never works long-term, ever, because attraction doesn't come from you bending yourself into her preference. Attraction comes from you being solid enough that you don't bend at all. Let's build the ladder, because you need to understand this on the level where you can't unsee it. The misconception is this: if I impress her, I win her. You think it's about winning. You think it's about proving. You think it's about being more funny, more interesting, more available, more agreeable, more supportive, more understanding, more of whatever you think she wants. But the hard truth is this: the moment you try to impress her, you position her above you, and women can feel that. They might not say it in those words, they might not even consciously know it, but they feel the energy of a man who is asking for permission to exist. You're saying without saying it, please validate me, please pick me, please tell me I'm enough. And the second she senses that, you become pressure, you become need, you become a chore disguised as a compliment. Now, why does it happen? Root cause, not the surface behavior, the root. It happens because you're not at peace with yourself. It happens because somewhere along the line, you learned that love is something you earn by performing. Maybe you had to be good to be noticed. Maybe you had to be useful to be appreciated. Maybe you had to be the nice one because you didn't feel strong enough to be the respected one. So now you use her attention as proof that you're okay. And when she pulls back, even slightly, it doesn't just feel like a dating problem. It feels like a self-worth problem. So you chase, you overtext, you overexplain, you overgive, you overtolerate, you overstay. You call it loyalty, but it's fear. You call it patience, but it's avoidance. You call it, I just really like her, but it's dependency wearing a clean shirt. And what does it cost you? It costs you your presence. It costs you your edge. It costs you your masculinity, not the loud performative version, but the grounded kind. The kind that doesn't beg, the kind that doesn't bargain, the kind that doesn't panic when silence happens. Because when you're trying to impress her, you're not leading your life. You're reacting to her mood like it's the weather. If she's warm, you're confident. If she's cold, you're anxious. If she's busy, you're spiraling. If she's flirting, you're alive again. You see how pathetic that is? And I'm not saying that to insult you. I'm saying it because your future depends on you being honest about what you're doing. You are giving her the steering wheel of your identity. And then you wonder why you feel powerless. Let's reframe it. You don't need to impress her. You need to respect yourself so hard that the right woman feels safe near you, and the wrong woman can't get comfortable using you. That's the shift. From impressing to embodying, from chasing to choosing, from proving to living. Because the strongest move you can make with a woman isn't a clever line. It's not a perfectly timed text. It's not some exaggerated gesture that screams, "Look what I did for you." The strongest move is your standards. The strongest move is your boundaries. The strongest move is your calm. The strongest move is your willingness to walk away from anything that costs you your dignity. That is rare, and rarity creates value. Now let's talk about the trap you keep falling into, because you keep calling it connection, but it's fantasy. You meet her. She's pretty. She's got that energy. She makes you feel something. And immediately your mind starts building a future like it's a movie trailer. You start imagining her reactions. You start adjusting your behavior to keep her interested. You start trying to lock it in before reality even shows up. That's not love. That's projection. That's called future tripping. That's called giving someone a crown before they've earned a seat at your table. And it makes you weak because you start protecting an illusion instead of evaluating a real person. You stop asking, is she good for me? You stop asking, does she respect me? You stop asking, does she bring peace or chaos? You stop asking, is she consistent? You stop evaluating. You start auditioning. And when you audition, you lose. Because you teach her something dangerous. That your value is negotiable. You teach her that she can give you less and you'll give her more. You teach her that your attention is cheap. You teach her that your time is available at a discount. And time is the one thing a man with self-respect prices high. So what do you do instead? You become the man who doesn't need her approval to stand tall. Let me paint the archetype for you. Not the internet caricature of alpha. Not the chest-puffing clown who thinks cruelty is confidence. I'm talking about the grounded man. The man who is calm, clear, and unmoved by manipulation. Because he's not trying to be liked. He's trying to be aligned. This man walks into a room and he doesn't scan for who's watching him. He scans for what matters. His eyes are steady. His posture is quiet certainty. He speaks with intention, not volume. He doesn't overtalk. He doesn't fill silence with nervous performance. Silence doesn't scare him because he's not trying to control the moment. He's present inside it. He flirts, but he doesn't fawn. He gives, but he doesn't bleed. He leads, but he doesn't chase. He listens, but he doesn't lose himself. He desires her, but he doesn't worship her. He has boundaries that don't need a speech. He doesn't say, please don't disrespect me. He simply doesn't stay where disrespect lives. He doesn't argue for basic decency. He doesn't negotiate for consistency. He doesn't accept confusion as mystery. He doesn't accept hot and cold as she's just complicated. No, he names it. That's called inconsistency. That's called immaturity. That's called attention seeking. That's called a waste of your time. And he moves accordingly because he has purpose. And purpose is the antidote to neediness. Here's what most men don't understand. When you don't have a mission, you turn women into your mission. When your life is empty, her attention becomes your entertainment. When you don't have discipline, her validation becomes your dopamine. When you don't have direction, her mixed signals become your daily puzzle. And you start confusing emotional turbulence with passion. You think the anxiety is chemistry. You think the uncertainty is excitement. You think the chase is romance. But it's not. It's addiction. That's called intermittent reinforcement. A little reward, a lot of uncertainty, and your brain starts gambling. You keep pulling the lever, you keep sending the text, you keep trying again, because maybe this time she'll finally give you what you want. And you're a man. You're built to pursue, but if you don't control that drive, you'll pursue the very thing that's destroying you. So let's get brutally practical, because motivation without instruction is just noise. Do this. Stop this. Redirect. Stop trying to impress her with excessive availability. Your time is not a proof of love. Your time is a resource. Treat it like one. Stop sending paragraphs when she sends crumbs. That's you chasing closure. That's you begging for certainty. That's you trying to force an outcome because you can't tolerate ambiguity. Stop making jokes to soften your standards. Stop laughing off disrespect. Stop saying it's fine when it isn't fine. Every time you do that, you train her and you train yourself. You train her that you'll tolerate it. You train yourself that you don't deserve better. You stop. Stop being the man who explains his worth. A man with self-respect doesn't convince, he demonstrates. Now redirect. Redirect your energy into becoming undeniable. Not for her, for you. If you want her to feel your strength, you don't show it by trying harder at her. You show it by trying harder at your life. Train your body like it's your armor and your responsibility. Build your skills like your future depends on it, because it does. Fix your finances like you're done being at the mercy of randomness. Strengthen your circle like you don't need to be rescued by a relationship. Get your sleep right. Get your diet right. Get your mind right. Because here's the thing, the man who is truly busy building doesn't have time to perform for someone who isn't sure about him. He doesn't have time to chase confusion. He doesn't have time to beg for a reply. He doesn't have time to compete for attention, not because he's above her, because he's committed to himself. Now, in your interactions with her, adopt a new standard, clarity. Clarity in what you want, clarity in what you tolerate, clarity in your pace, clarity in your words. If you like her, say it clean, not theatrically, not with pressure, clean. And then watch her actions, not her potential, not her trauma story, not her "I'm just busy right now" speech repeated for the fifth time. Actions, consistency, effort, reciprocity. Because your job is not to convince her to choose you. Your job is to see if she qualifies. That's the identity flip that changes everything. Right now, you're acting like you're lucky if she chooses you. Start acting like she's lucky if she meets the standard to stay. And I know that triggers you because it sounds arrogant. It's not arrogance. Arrogance is pretending you're valuable. Self-respect is knowing you are and living accordingly. Now let's talk about the big fear that keeps you performing, the fear of losing her. You keep trying to impress because you think if you stop, she'll leave. And you're right. Some women will. The ones who only liked you because you were easy to control. The ones who only liked you because you were feeding their ego. The ones who only liked you because you didn't require anything. Let them go. Because if the only way to keep a woman is to abandon yourself, that's not a relationship. That's a hostage situation. That's called self-betrayal. And self-betrayal always collects interest. It shows up as resentment. It shows up as anxiety. It shows up as jealousy. It shows up as depression. It shows up as you waking up one day next to someone and feeling like a ghost in your own life. You don't need that. You need backbone. You need standards that cost you something. You need to be willing to lose what isn't aligned, because the man who fears loss will always be controlled by it. Read that again in your head. The man who fears loss will always be controlled by it. If you're afraid she'll leave, you'll tolerate anything. You'll tolerate disrespect. You'll tolerate inconsistency. You'll tolerate flirting with other guys. You'll tolerate being hidden. You'll tolerate being almost. You'll become a side character in your own story. And you'll call it love because the truth hurts too much. Now, here's the truth. If she's the right woman, your self-respect will not push her away. It will pull her closer. Because feminine energy, healthy feminine energy, respects structure. It respects leadership. It respects a man who is calm and clear, not a man who is frantic and performative. A healthy woman doesn't want to be your judge. She doesn't want to be your therapist. She doesn't want to be your God. She wants to feel you stand on your own 2 feet and choose her from strength, not from starvation. So let's install the new rules in your nervous system. When you feel the urge to impress, pause. Don't act on it immediately. That urge is not romance. It's insecurity asking for a quick fix.